guess when I first started in the business, I'll go back. When I first started in the business, I was a comedian. I did stand-up comedy at little bars and clubs, opening for different acts. Then I went on to, doing my own shows and opening for a few of the bigger name entertainers like Luther Vandross, Destiny's Child, Al Jarreau. But my first show was the Whispers and the OJs. I first did stand-up. That's when I first got into the business. I wasn't doing stand-up. I wasn't doing theater yet. I was just doing stand-up. This is when I was married too as well. I didn't get divorced because of, I was just comedy. But later on, I got divorced. My ex-wife moved to Memphis, Tennessee, which started me to really get into knowing what theater was all about. I met somebody. This one guy I met. He was promoting a big production that was going all around the country. A lot of celebrities in that play. And he liked me as a person, like I was funny and I was cool, just send them all tripping. Now, like I said, I saw him and he decided, why don't you come and audition? Or if he said audition, he said, why don't you work with me in promoting this production? So I got with him and started promoting the play. And I was an extra in that play with Margaret Avery from Color Purple and one of the Temptations and Gary Jenkins from Silk and different big names that were in that production. And after that, I moved back to Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm originally from. And that's where I was raised. And I started, I decided what it is that you do. And it takes money. And I think the hardest part about that back when I first started was I didn't have money. I literally did not have money. I mean, I didn't have my kids back then. I worked part-time. I have a degree in fashion merchandising, so I worked. Most of the time I worked back then, the 80s and all those days, back in the day, I was never full-time. I was never a full-time associate at most of the jobs I worked because there were so many people doing what I did and less companies hiring for what I did. Like fashion merchandising is, if you got 8 people, you can make them all part-time, at Saks or Nordstrom's. Nordstrom wasn't back in Ohio where I was there. It's Kaufman's, things like that. Sears. But I was good at what I did. But I still didn't make the money that I wanted to make. I didn't know what I was supposed to make, Back then, I was, just working, And then I was funny. And I realized I could go out and do funny stuff. People say, "Oh, imitate my uncle, imitate this guy, do that." And I imitate singers and people like that. So then I started doing voices and things like that. So that, like I said, stand-up comedy was my thing. And I went into theater. Now theater, 13 years ago, I wrote a play. My first play was called Joy Cometh in the Morning. And I didn't have finances. I didn't have any way to pay for that. But I knew I had to do it because it was in me to do. I just started asking people I know for money. $25 here, $50 here. Like same thing like Spike Lee did when he wanted to do She's Gotta Have It or whatever movie she did. And I started asking people when I started making program books and putting people's ads in there. I was making the ads myself. I was creating ads, cut and paste and copying. I made friends with people at Kinko's, so I could get free stuff. I made friends with them on purpose, just to get free printing, before I even had a printer. Jet printer, all that stuff, Canons and stuff. But it was hard in the beginning. And then if a stage production cost me back then a little $800 to do a show, and today it's like $6,000 to do a show. I appreciated it, but I wasn't making any money. But I was getting known, and back then I did a lot of things I did because because of the ladies. I wanted all the girls because, you know, the girls were spending money and girls were buying tickets and women they like entertainment, you know. And I did stand-up comedy because I wanted all the girls. I wanted all the girls to laugh at me and laugh with me and come to my shows and stuff. So I had a lot of girlfriends, you know, back then. You know, not today. I'm older, wiser, smarter, richer. No. So on my first production, I wrote "Joy Cometh in the Morning." It was very successful at my church, and I was dating a young lady. Her family was well off, you know, for some reason. Not for some reason, but her family was well off. And she was my girlfriend. I really didn't know how to approach her, give me some money, help me with my production, because you know that's what you should do anyway if you with somebody. The show was successful. All the church came. I did it again 4 months later. And I did it again like 4 or 5 times a year in my church. And she came to me one day and she said, "You know what? That play has played out. You need to write a new play." And I was insulted with her. I didn't break up with her right then and there, but I was insulted by her telling me that I should write another play. And I thought about it. And I realized that I should write another play. And I wrote another play. I wrote Laura, Why Me? It's a play about domestic violence, and that was probably one of my most, even today, after 13 years, 12, almost 13 years, it's still one of the top productions that this country has ever seen, period. For years, it was a lot of years, I didn't make any money doing stage productions. I wasn't making any money. I mean, I worked part-time, and my part-time job wasn't, you know, paying me what I should be paid. So I worked part-time. Then I was doing plays. Then my rent is close to whatever back then, about first time like $700 to $800 a month back then. And I was living downtown, a loft, over the city, whatever. I wanted to live the way I wanted to live, whatever. And I would bring my checks home before I had kids. Bring my check home. Then I had a play coming up. I made it around the same time I would get paid, so I'd have rent every month. So with not making that much money off plays and part of my check, that was my rent. I know it sounds real weird, and a lot of people are doing that today, going through this same thing today, and that was years ago. Before that, I was living with my mother. I stayed with my mother, and that's like the same as your mother is probably one of the worst things in the world you could do. You can sneak in the refrigerator and get some food here and there sometime, but you got to pay your rent. My mother's house, you got to pay rent at my mother's house. She'd be so nice, "Come stay at my house. Oh, baby, come stay with me. Oh, Lord." And then the first of the month, she'd be knocking on the stairs, she'd be downstairs, like I was upstairs, she'd knock on the door. "Where that rent money? Get that rent money." I couldn't have no girls either. "Get that out from my stairs. Get out from my stairs." She was like, "Oh my God." The girl would be like, "Oh my God, that's your mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's the lady down. That's that lady. She's crazy." But it was rough. Starting out trying to do a play. And I'll be honest, I wasn't making money doing my plays back then. Like I said before, I was making maybe $300 total to bring home. About $300, but the play was like $800 or whatever. So whatever I made, it went into paying or whatever, musicians or whatever, and things like that. And I wasn't making any money. I didn't make money back then. I made a name for myself, which I needed the money back then more importantly. But then I started asking, like I said, I asked people I knew for money. I'm doing a play, I need $100, I need $200, I need and I was begging for money, begging people for money. You know, begging to do a show. And the shows were good shows. And people loved it, but I used to have like maybe, I had no more than 27 to 30 people at the show, at my shows. No more than, then it got to where it was 50, 94, 112. Go back down to 40. Now I'm doing like, you know, selling out shows, you know. You know, and the plays I write are they have a message to them. You know, people are really receiving a message from the plays. I don't do the plays for money. Now, I mean, we all have to have money, but I don't do plays for money because the message is so strong now these days. Like now, when I write plays, the messages are so strong that God don't want me to do it for money. I'm gonna get paid. He don't want me to go in it for the money like I used to. I used to do it for the money, but now I do it because I have to. Because I'm commissioned to do these productions and bring the word. I'm like a messenger, and I've grasped that. I've accepted that. I've taken that in, you know, and I've been blessed. I mean, now times are different. Times have changed. I'm making more money now.